Let me ask you something. Are you getting everything out of your rent-to-own business? If you're not an APRO member, then the answer is probably no. Look, advocacy is APRO's bread and butter. This is why they were created and what they do best. But here's the thing. APRO membership is about way more than advocacy. APRO connects you to the movers and the shakers of the industry, people who've been there, done that, and they can help you do it even better. APRO's monthly webinars give you expert insights and actionable takeaways. It's like having a masterclass for your business every single month. Got questions about complex regulations or sticky situations? No problem. APRO's legal hotline gives you direct access to experts who have got the answers. That's a peace of mind that you can't put a price on. And let's not forget the resources, news, updates, and tools that keep you ahead of the curve. Scholarships for your team? Check. Disaster relief when you need it most? Double check. APRO is your ultimate support system in the rent-to-own world. So stop settling for less. With APRO, members get more. More support, more connections, and more success. Head over to rtohq.org and join the APRO family today. Because in this business, more isn't just better. It's essential. See you at the top with APRO. Hello and welcome to the RTO Show. I'm your host, Pete Chow. Today, we're talking rent-to-own with Brian Rosen. We're doing a vendor spotlight today with Nektova. And Nektova's been a part of what's been going on in the RTO space and the RTO industries for a very, very long time and for a lot of good reasons. But when you deal with Nektova, you kind of get the Twin Towers, right? So you got Denis Rosen, who's been doing this for years and years and years, and now Brian, who's on the scene. He's been on the scene for a few years, and he's making things happen. He's the fresh face of Nektova when it comes to me, anyways, in the RTO industry. Brian, how you doing today? How's everything going?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Pete?
I am excellent. Listen, I know that Dad is going to listen to this and go, I should have been on that show.
Well, he's going to love your compliment of calling him a Twin Tower, so.
Well, listen, there's nobody bigger in this industry than Denis, and I'm so glad that I get to speak to you about this. But tell me a little bit about you. How did you get into the Dad's been doing this for almost 50 years. You decided you're going to come in a number of years ago. At what point did you start, and at what point did you decide, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to work with Rent-to-Own, and we're going to make this happen?
Well, it's a great question. I've actually been in Rent-to-Own, I want to say around 2001 was my first initial start or introduction to Rent-to-Own. That was when I was working with Florida State Games with Dad. I was brought on as an intern, and to make a long story short, my one job was to call each and every Rent-A-Center store. At the time was about 2,360. So I had to call each and every store to ensure they got their initial shipment. Everything was good. There was no damages. Everything was going okay. So I called each and every one of the stores, all 2,360, and that was kind of my intro into Rent-to-Own. I then grabbed the APRO book, and I would just start working down the book in alphabet order and introducing myself and calling on certain accounts, and then started into shows, and the rest is the rest.
So Nektova as a whole, big company. Let's introduce Nektova a little bit and find out what's the real deal behind them. They're not just a one-stop shop for just like gaming. They carry a lot. Now, I know a lot of times when we're thinking about Nektova, at least some of my guys do, they're like, oh, I can get, the PlayStations and I can get the Xboxes, I can get a couple of Nintendos. But then you guys offer quite a bit of material, a lot of products that we use in the rent-to-own space. What exactly do you guys carry?
So just to give you a little bit on Nektova, they are a worldwide distributor of electronics. The last numbers I saw was over 2,000 companies that we provide product to in 41 different countries. We do also have many other channels of Nektova. Rent-to-Own division was started by Denis here at Nektova, but there is also export, incentive, retail, e-commerce, education, healthcare, so on and so on. But to answer the question, the product lines that we sell, and I appreciate you saying that we are more than gaming, is we also provide laptops, tablets, smart home products, such as, Ring doorbells, wearables, so your watches and other items that you would wear, audio, streaming devices, and more products. So we do carry a wide array of items.
So this is the RTO show, so I got to ask, when you're talking about 41 other countries,
Hmm.
Because there's only one that I'm really associated with. But you talk about 40 other
Yeah.
countries. Are you dealing with rent to own companies in those countries, or are we just talking about other entities that are buying the product?
Oh, I apologize. I'll reiterate. Yeah, so the 41 countries was Nektova as a whole when I combined all those different channels together.
Okay, so some channels don't go everywhere.
No, we deal strictly with U.S. rent to own.
Now, as a vendor spotlight, you've been doing this for a little while. What
Mhm.
are you specific to rent to own, or do you handle that much more? Like when you're talking about the rent to own space, you handle us specifically. Do you handle only rent to own in the entirety of Nektova, or do you handle all the other things, including rent to own?
No, it is strictly just rent to own that I work.
So breaking in, was it hard? I mean, did you have to mention dad? Did you have to be like, hey, I know this guy. This is my dad, and I can I can do the same things that he can do. Wink, wink. But I mean, was it like that, or was it because rent to own, I find it to be very very open, very nice. These guys are nice guys.
It no, it was not hard, and that's one of the reasons I have such a passion for the industry. Everybody in this industry is not only there to be successful in business, but they're friends. They help each other. Just speaking of the last RTO World Show, there was amazing educational seminars, and I mean everyone's talking to each other on what works for them. This is in my store. This item's doing great. I just lowered my rental rate on this. So everybody's helping each other out, which I've never known an industry to do.
So as you're dealing with the shows, right? And you're at the shows and somebody walks up to you and they're talking to you. Do you ever anybody says like, "Hey man, I'm trying to sell this product. I think it's great, but I'm not really doing a good job. Can you give me some ins and outs and how you would sell it and what product and features you think would benefit rent to own?"
I do, and it's not only to obviously attempt to get the sale for that item, but it's just for the overall education for that item to work in general. Because whether they're going to buy from me or they buy from a competitor, if that item is working, that's just going to generate more sales for the RTO, which is going to generate more sales for me, which is what we all want is money.
Everybody talks to me about the economy. That's one of the first things that gets brought up when I'm talking to different people in different aspects of the industry, whether it be somebody who has one store or 15 stores or 40 stores. Now, the bigger ones, they tend to be able to take their hits and their bumpy roads a little bit better. They have a bigger tire to spread it over. But some of the smaller stores, they have a problem. Does Nektova handle the smaller accounts, or is it just the larger ones? I mean, is there potential for, let's say I have a couple of guys that own 3 stores. Is it advantageous for them to go to Nektova and still be able to get the great deals?
100%. We do not turn away any rent to own whatsoever. I actually want to say in Nektova's history within rent to own, there's not been one person we've turned down for terms.
So you guys work with everybody.
We work with everybody. So whether that's one store, operation up to a regionalized chain, that's 20, 50 plus stores. To us, every customer matters.
So you start working with Dad in Florida State Games, which is also a huge vendor that we deal with in rent to own. And I think everybody knows who they are. And then you branch off and you guys start working on the RTO division of Nektova, which is also another huge part of the rent to own space. But what really got you into it? What made you decide to follow in Dad's steps and say, I want to be in this type of business? Not let alone rent to own, but in this type of business where you're selling on this type of level. Was there something that brought you into it?
It was, I know it sounds cliche, but Dennis, Dad, is my mentor. I grew up watching him leave at 5 in the morning and not getting home until 8 o'clock at night, to work in the retail stores as a mass store merchant buyer. But when we started I got my first introduction to a rent to own show and started meeting everybody and seeing how he interacted with everybody and hearing the police and what he's known for all around the industry. I was hook, line, sinker. I knew that's just what I wanted to do. And we would start having some success together, and it just became almost like a drug. We would chase the highs of saying, you know what, we're going to do that. And we would meet that goal. And some of those along the line, would be, we won the executive club over the years in Trib, which is 50% of the membership or more. We won Rookie of the Year, Soaring Eagle Awards. Most recently in 2022, we were the vendor of the year for Premier.
Wow.
We were shocked. I was expecting to hear, some of the other vendors that win a lot of these awards. So when the name was called, it was it was a shock, and it was an amazing feeling.
So here's where it starts getting interesting. Dad lays down the groundwork, right? And he shows you what it's really like to put in some grind, to put in some time and get things done. So then you show up, you start handling business, and you guys start doing it as a tag team duo. But then you broke off. And you've done something that, as far as I know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Dad hasn't done yet. And that's you became a part of a board that it's a vendor relationship board. How does that? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, the vendor advisory committee. I've been after that for years, and been extremely close many years. But it was most recently went for it, and I got the call from Charles and said, "Hey, congratulations, you made the vendor advisory committee." So it was an amazing personal accomplishment, for me, and Dad is extremely proud of that as well.
Well, I mean, number one, it's a feather in your hat to show how hard you're working in the industry. So I'm gonna say that kudos to you, man. I'm really glad that you're there, and I'm glad that you guys have the ability to take a step up into this. But talk to me a little bit about that. What does a vendor advisory committee do? Because you've been there, you've been doing it for Florida State. You're doing it now for Nektova. Dad's been doing it for years. You're really getting into the space. Everybody I know knows your name. Now, what is the advantage of being on this vendor advisory committee, and what exactly do you guys do?
Okay, so that's a great question. So I would say the overall driving purpose is to improve the experience for both members and vendors. And that's overall in business, at shows. It incorporates everything, whether that's legislative and doing PAC initiatives, or going to network events, or talking to APRO memberships and TRIB memberships through the shows. The goal, I guess I would say, is to improve the RTO industry by getting some greater involvement, ideas being shared, collaborations, and just engagement.
So basically what we're saying is it's not just the operations side of the rent-to-own industry. It's also for you guys to be able to say, hey, we as vendors care about this industry, and we also want to give any kind of help that we can. So we get together every so often. How often do you guys get together?
I just started, so you're putting me on the spot here, Pete. But I want to say we meet about twice a year.
And so these sessions, and I'm gathering that you guys, because it's biannually, you don't get together for 5 whole minutes. I'm sure it's a day or two to really kind of get down to the nitty gritty. Is that am I right?
Yeah, the one meeting happens at RTO World every year, and that's about an hour meeting. And then there's also another meeting later in the fourth quarter. Most recently was in Austin, and that was a full day event.
A whole day of discussing how you guys can be nice to us and help us through these hard times. Because one of my questions really leading into this, because I know being part of this board seems very important to you, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm glad that you guys have been able to go through the layers of being able to get an award, being new on the block, being able to take what you have, and whether it's Premier, whether it's RTO, whether it's TRIB, whatever it is. When I say RTO, I mean RTO World. Whatever it is, you guys are a part of that. So I can tell you right now, I see ripples everywhere. Some people want to talk about it, and some people don't. Some people are like, Pete, everything is fine in the rent-to-own industry. We do better when things are down. Hey, I'm not going to lie. I agree with that. I have agreed with that for 20 years. Now I'm coming up on a time frame where I can tell you things are different now. This generation did not follow the footsteps of the generation before. This is a breakout generation. Generation Z is completely different than Generation X, hands down, in a lot of different ways. And I'm not saying that they're all bad. That's the way they grew up. That's what they're used to. That they are part technology. They are part people. The millennials are a completely different story. Very, very hybrid. But Gen Z, they have a whole different setup, and they are starting, of course, to take over more market share because as they get older and we get older, it just happens. What changes have you seen? I mean, you've been in the industry on a vendor side for a while.
Yeah.
What changes or differences have you seen in the last years that you can say, wow, I never thought it would be like this, or that was something new that happened that took me by surprise?
Well, I can tell you just from doing this for, about coming on 2 decades now, honestly, a major change I noticed for the betterment of the industry was the introduction of Hot Show at the trade shows. That to me was huge. There were times, Pete, I don't know if many people were aware of this, but It was just show specials when you stopped by a booth. There was no hot show.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Because as long as I've been going to the shows, I've only heard sold, sold, sold. I did not know that that was actually not an ongoing thing. When was that introduced?
To be honest with you, I don't know that year. I did have unfortunately had to take a break from RTO, but I got back in, which is important. So, but it was during that time frame.
Just in a roundabout. Has it been 5 years, 10 years?
I would have to say a good probably 10 years, and I'm sure people will correct me on that.
Okay. So in the ongoing times before that, there wasn't this hot show where we're doing the almost like the paddle thing and, hey, you want this, get this. You want that, get that. And you're going to get it only now at this particular price, right? So that was something new. That changed the way you guys sold and the amounts that you sold at these events?
I would say it did for the entire industry, not just for us. The introduction of that allowed vendors to showcase a certain item at a ridiculously low price, where the members are able to take advantage of it. It was a brilliant idea, in my opinion, at least, for the betterment not only of the purchases for the membership, but also it helps the vendor's perspective, because now the items they have in there, they know they're going to move some quantity, and the return on investment for the show just speaks for itself.
Well, listen, it's a win-win when you have your name on a 25 by 25 foot board, if not bigger than that, saying that you're supporting the RTO industry with these special deals at this particular time. Because I can tell you right now, every time that I've ever gone, and I've only started going in the last 5 years, so you have way more leg up on me when it comes to this, but that is a very big part of the event. And I only know that as it's been going on, that's where you go. When the hot show is on, everything stops, that starts, and you don't do anything else until that's over. Because, really, it's a focal point. It's a focal point of what they do, and it really brings something to the table. Now, how is Nektova affected by COVID? Did your RTO margins take a real big hit? In the sense that there was less work. I know that at some point in time, there were PS5 prices and gaming prices that were hitting like the all-time highs. But at the same time, I know if we were paying more, I know you were paying more. So was it just as hard? Was it difficult time? How did you guys get through that?
Wow, that's actually an amazing question. So I actually started in November of 2020, right in the smack of COVID. We did end up, and ironically, we just talked hot show. We got the ability to get volume consoles, and we offered for hot show. And yes, we paid well over. The margins in gaming is slim as it is. To say break even is lucky when it comes to a hot show.
Now, tell me this. This is something that I've heard. This is the boogeyman behind the scenes that I've heard several times. I haven't run into it yet myself. I'm going to knock on some wood the next time I have any. But somebody says you've got to be careful of the super low pricing on gaming because it could be region locked or it could be a different region than what we're currently in. Aren't we region 1? I think, and I could be wrong, but are there entities that actually might be selling different region gaming units that we need to go, man, we can't do that because our customer base, the people that we have our relationship with, are not going to be able to enjoy it the way they should?
I would no. The one and only downfall you really mainly are going to encounter if it's an international unit is no ability of a warranty. But it's at a much discounted, price. So it's, buyer beware of a concept. And we at Nektova don't offer the international units per se to rent to own, as we've not been approached for it mainly. But we do have those in our warehouses for export in other divisions as well. So we do have the ability to get them.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
A little insider question. So if somebody came to you from the rent-to-own space and said they did want to open up that line, that's something that they can do, except with the tag that says buyer beware.
Yes.
Anybody that's out there listening, I'm not going to encourage you to do that. But now you know that there's a way that you can get something a little bit different. Just be careful. Now, with that being said, and you've done this for a while, what do you see coming down the pipe? What's new that you can see? You've been doing electronics for a long time. I know you guys see gaming, you see electronics, you see laptops. I've seen you guys have desktops. I've seen you have Apple. What's coming down the pipe? What's something that Nektova might be able to get their hands on? That's something that the RTO industry really just needs to get their hands on.
Let's take a quick break.
Hey everyone, it's Pete Chow here from the RTO Show podcast, and I want to tell you about a company that's making a real difference in the rent-to-own space. Wow Brands. I've seen firsthand how they approach marketing. And let me tell you, it's not just about ads. Wow Brands builds complete digital ecosystems designed specifically for the rent-to-own industry. Their e-commerce and lead generation strategies are built to bring in qualified leads. And did I mention that they are actively working with the rent-to-own industry while also being members of APRO and TRIB? Listen, these folks are passionate problem solvers. They don't just slap something together. They design, build, and scale the kind of digital retail tools your business needs and your customers actually want. So if you're serious about growing, reach out to Wow Brands at wowbrands.com. I trust them, and I think you will too.
That's a great question, and it's the $1 million question. I'm always looking for the next big item.
Are we always looking for that? Is that what it is? We're always looking for that one?
I think everybody's looking for that item.
Okay, then you got me because I'm looking for it from you. Because I'm trying to figure it out.
No, I would say something in the realm of AI, of artificial intelligence. I think that's kind of a necessity. And you talked earlier about this upcoming generation and the ripples and the changes that need to be made. AI is one of those. It's either accepted or become a victim of it. It's one of those technologies that are just going to take over. Think of, cassette tape was taken over by CD, which was taken over by DVD, which is over by Blu-ray, so on and so forth. AI is going to be that next leap and bound movement. And there's going to be all kinds of electronics out there that will utilize AI in a multitude of ways. In fact, there's going to be a great session next week that April's putting on as a kind of like an intro, for AI. I'm definitely going to be on that.
I'm going to say, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, I believe that AI is going to play a bigger role than we want it to. I see a lot of people that want to stray away from that. People in my age range, I don't want to say my generation, but in my age range, they say, we are in a relationship business. Rent-to-own has always been a relationship business from day one. But here's the thing. Nowadays, we're opening a lot more through text message, through email, and through the funnels of CRM, and somebody going online and they say, I want this particular unit. You have it. We do. We close the rental order. It scares me. I'm not going to lie to you. It does scare me as a person, but I see, and I've always been that type of person, especially being in the rent-to-own mind that I'm in right now, having the show and being able to talk to a vast amount of people that do this, change is inevitable. And I believe that. I also believe that in the last few years, it was also sped up. That cycle was moved so much forward because of COVID and how we reacted to it, that a lot of people were able to see things that they probably wouldn't have seen until 2025. But it got pushed so fast because now, at a time, you had curbside delivery, everything had to be on phone, everything had to be, non-touch, and it just sped everything up because we had to do it to stay relevant. Well, think about that. Our children saw that. Our children's children are going to be a part of that. So we're now in that, I think, in that cross space where it's going AI. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that that's going to be probably the thing that's going to be down the pipe. Now, as far as AI is concerned, you're talking about, let's say, gaming and things of that nature?
Yeah, and AI in general, and I don't want anyone to be, nervous or scared. It's, when I say AI, I'm not talking Terminator, but it's going to be accessible to. The key word I think of when I hear AI is convenience. That's what everybody wants. What would be convenient for me? If it's convenient think of a smart home as a perfect example, as that's been integrated over the last, 10 years. You have your Alexa and some other ones I can't say because they'll start listening. Those are the kind of things that you just started to adapt. You could do the same thing in your CRM, programs. Think of ChatGPT as a, perfect example. So it's there to help in other items, but yes, and also in electronics and within gaming. I mean, you have things like Meta glasses, that you could do certain things with, or you've got the Oculus VR is going to be huge. Those are the movement within technology. It's convenient for people.
AI is down the pipe. We know it's coming. You know it's coming.
Yep.
Does the vendor advisory committee know it's coming? That's the question. We need to post that in the next time that you have a meeting and say, listen, I was talking to Pete on the RTO Show podcast, and we were talking about AI. Guys, this is a subject we need to talk about. I'm just pitching that for the next conversation that you guys have. But going into these events, and you're getting set up, we've talked about this a second ago, you have these hot show parts where everybody's getting ready, but you want to get something in the hot show. Now, what determination is it that Nektova goes through and says, this is something that I want to try and get into the hot show? Is it something that's new and exciting? Is it something that's a tried and true? Like, this is a material that, like a PS5. A PS5 is something that you're probably going to be selling until they change that console. Or is it more, this is something new, this is something cutting edge like a gaming system, and when I say that, like a gaming rig or a gaming tower that has a certain power point to it. I have a 16 gigs of RAM, it has this great video card, it's on an i7 processor, whatever the case is. What determines what you guys try to put in a hot show?
Well, the mentality that both Dennis and I have is really not, I know what we have in our inventory in Nektova, right? The way we view it is we're not here to sell what we have. We're here to sell what RTO wants.
That is a smart decision.
And we've always had that kind of, adaptation. And that is a huge factor into any new items that we look for as well that we can carry. So yeah, that's a major factor. The other factor is what is out of, all these different areas and products that we carry in different channels and verticals, what item can we provide the best bang for the buck? And sometimes that will be a PS5. There's other years in the past where we actually provided a gaming laptop because that was the best bang for the buck that we were able to provide for the member.
That makes a lot more sense than what I was saying. That's why you sell and I don't, as far as the vendor is concerned. And that's true. I really didn't think about it like that because I'm more thinking of, when somebody hits my floor, they like the new and the shiny, but I really wasn't thinking what would provide the best value for the industry as a whole, because you're not just selling to one company or two companies or three companies. You're literally selling to the entire RTO industry. So that makes absolute sense. Now, as far as everything goes, when we're talking about Trib, we're talking about the hot show. Mm-hmm. Now, Trib also does the part of the hot show in RTO World too. Isn't that right?
Yes, it is.
So we've got these two powerhouses. Of course, the show's premier sponsor is APRO. And I'm going to tell you, I love these guys to death. They've been making so many good moves. Charles is probably one of the best fits that I've seen in a long time. They actually added Amber Lee. I am so happy that she's there. What can you say that now that you've been on the advisory committee and you've been in the industry for a long time, what's a bit of advice that you can give somebody in rent to own that they would want to choose Nektova over the next guy?
I would say, and I'm going to start that answer with, yes, there is competition in the industry, but just as each and every one of you guys compete against each other, you guys are also friendly. We all laugh together, have a drink, those kind of things. It's the same on the vendor side, whether it's the same category or not. And that is one of my absolute favorite things of the industry is all competition is friendly. So whether that be a Dialectic, a Florida State Games, an O'Rourke, or anybody else, I see Bill French, I'll go over, hey, Bill, how are you? Bill talks to me. We talk business. How are things? Excellent. Talk about kids. It's the same thing that you guys don't see that we see you guys doing at these shows.
If anybody doesn't know, Bill French is actually one of the big wigs at O'Rourke, and O'Rourke is also a player in this game. They add a little bit of different things to it as far as appliances and some other sources that you guys don't do. So how many different categories? So you have all these things. How many categories did you say that you carry at Nektova now?
Within different categories, I would probably say, as far as verticals, laptops, tablets, smart home, wearable, audio, gaming, streaming, and a few more. So I would say probably about 7 to 10 different lines of business.
So listen, if anybody in the RTO industry is looking for something that you can put on your shelves that are going to sell quick, or if you want to talk to somebody who knows what they're selling, Brian Rosen from Nektova is going to be able to answer that question. Brian, I think that Nektova almost speaks for itself, but I'm so glad that you and Dad have the ability to stand there and represent them in a way that is just professional, on point, and you guys know rent to own. You've been doing it a really, really long time. If I was an RTO owner and I wanted to get out to you, I don't use you guys right now, how would I get a hold of you? What information can you give me so that I can reach out to you and get a hold of you?
You could reach out to me on email, Brian, Brian, at Nektova.com. Or you can call my number, area code 954-821-8879. And you can also find us on AmpTab. We are on AmpTab as well. So Nektova, we also strive to be omni-channel for you, or whichever way works for you.
That's the way everything's going right now. If you guys are not on AmpTab, I suggest that you give them a look. It makes everything so much easier. But if you want to reach out to somebody and get a friendly voice on the other end of the phone, always feel welcome to reach out to Brian and Denis. They will take care of you, Brian especially. And now that I know he's on the vendor advisory committee, I'm going to have to find out what's going on and get the scoops later on this year about what's going on with them and what's the scoop on what's happening and what's new. I will also tell you, giving out some information, if you want to reach out to the show, you can do that at pete@thertoshowpodcast.com. If you want to hit us up and find out what's going on with Brian, or if you just want to converse, ask us about Brian and say, hey man, is that guy legit? I'm going to tell you that he is, but you can reach out to the show at thertoshowpodcast.com. In there, you can send me a direct DM, or you can see us on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram. Just look up the RTO Show. I can't tell you how much I love dealing with these guys, whether I'm trying to find out what the best thing is, hey, what's new coming out, or finding out some good prices. Denis, Brian, always taking care of me. Nektova is the place to go. Brian, I really appreciate having you on the show. Is there anything that you want to add before we take off?
I guess just an ode to the hot show, since we talk so much, and to Lynn Leach. Sold.
Listen, the next time that I see Lynn, I'm gonna ask him to get on the show just so that I can get an ISO of that comment right there. That little sold. I'm gonna put that on the show. I'm gonna tell you that right now. We really do appreciate you having on the show, guys. If you guys have any questions, please hit us up. And as always, I'm always gonna tell you, get your collections low to get your sales high. Have a great one.